Hey folks, Robbie Payne here with Chrome Unboxed, coming at you today with a full review of the Acer C910, otherwise known as the Acer Chromebook 15. And so those of you who are part of the channel here have seen the unboxing and the kind of quick little review I did when this thing came in, as there are a lot of people asking questions about this particular device, and its availability still is not the greatest right now. There's a handful of retailers, and over the next few weeks I would say that would expand completely out. You'll probably see Amazon, Best Buy, and those kind of people carrying it in the up and coming time. But there were some questions lingering as to what device was what, whether this particular one had a full HD IPS-like screen, or if it was the lower 1366 by 768 education model. And so we're going to clear some of those things up today. And so the official model of this device is the Acer C910-37P. C37P. So if you run across it somewhere as you're watching this review, and before we kind of get into the full rollout of this device, you can kind of rest assured, even if they don't have it listed right, it's probably the one with full HD IPS display. I took a stab, got it in hoping that it would be the right thing, and knew that if I got it and looked on the outside of the box and it said, hey, features a stunning 1366 by 768 display, I'd immediately put it back in the mail and send it back to them. But ultimately, I wanted this device to be kind of my go-to device, and rid myself of being attached to my existing Chromebox that I have. And granted, my Chromebox has a 4th gen i3, 8 gigs of RAM, and 128 gig solid state. But honestly, I felt like I could probably do with the 4 gigs of RAM that come in this device, and I was hoping that the Broadwell processor would make up for any lack that the Celeron would bring to the table. And so the questions remain: Did it do what it needed to do? Did it live up to the hype? Did it make it? The truth is, for me personally, no. However, there is a huge caveat to that, and I want to make sure that is made very clear in this. And for this review, I really want to spend most of the time talking about the things that this device does well and does right. And there are a lot of them. And I will say this at the beginning of it: anything that I say that's negative, that's taking into account the fact that I work solely from a Chromebook at this point. I have Crouton running in a window. I have probably 8 to 10 tabs open at any given time. Pixlr or the Pixlr photo editor open. So I've got some pretty intense things going on for a Chromebook. My use case scenario does not match what most people's are. So usually if a device sails through what I do in a day, it's doing really well, and you will have no problem for most users who are using it. So like the Chromebox I was referring to, the way I have it spec'd out at this point in time, I would say there's no way 99% of people that use Chrome boxes or Chromebooks would ever have an issue at all with the way that thing performs. This device, for me, 90% of the time is fine. What I found is, and you can get this app, it's a really neat little app called System. You can download it in the App Store. It shows you exactly what's going on. So right now, with nothing open, nothing going on, I've got 2.64 gigs of available space when it comes to memory. It's a 4 gig machine. That seems pretty good, no problems there. But what I found happened pretty quickly, and I'll show this to you real quick. We'll open that up. We'll do, I don't want to open up my Gmail stuff. Let's open up Drive. And then let's do an instance of YouTube. And I'll open my IDE up. I don't want to completely overload this because, like I said, my use cases aren't exactly everybody else's, so I want to be fair here. So, but this is a normal setup for me, very, very normal. Adding some more things into the mix here. But I'm going to open up a style sheet here that I'm working in, a site I'm working on, and so we'll have that pulled up. Let's just get a video queued up real quick. We'll pause it. Let's do quick spreadsheet. It's a very small spreadsheet, but it's a spreadsheet. And let's go to a site here. So there's a handful of things pulled up. That's not much of anything there. Let's go to this one. Okay, so there's 4 tabs, technically 6, because I've got IDE running here, and I've got that system going. Now let's check at the system. I've already dropped to 1.2 gigs of available space. Now it's 1. If I were to open up, say, a music player, Spotify or Google Play Music, we'll see that jump down again. And this isn't that abnormal of use case. This is starting to push pretty hard, but it's not going to be long. I'm going to start having some issues here. So let's just play this and see how our system does. So now we're sub 1 gig. We're down to, it's bouncing back and forth between 850 and 950 megs of free RAM space. And so you can see how getting an instance of Crouton running in the background here would pretty much tank me out. So this is what I've found in working with this device. If I keep things tight and concise and I'm not doing a ton of things at one time, no problems. And I'm not saying that it's struggling here. I mean, everything's still smooth. So as long as that's there, I just ended up peaking it out at multiple times. And like I said, there are times in what I do, I'm also using, inspection elements and stuff like that. So I've got the element inspector over here, and sometimes I'll end up with 2 or 3 of these open because I'm inspecting multiple different sites. And so between those, my normal tabs, and other apps that I have running, it's no big deal to have 12 to 15 things going on at the same time. And so, again, I want to emphasize, my use cases aren't normal for most people, more than likely. What most people are going to do is have a handful of tabs running and they're searching some stuff and they move on. And basic website tabs don't have nearly as much impact on the RAM as packaged apps and things like that do. And so I'm going to keep this up just as we go along and are messing with some things just to show you. I'll run a quick Octane here for you real quick. The Octane score that I got most frequently was about 13,500. So somewhere between 13.4, 13.6 in there. And I did that while logged out, so everything closed, did a fresh restart. Did not log in as myself, logged in instead under the guest, so there's nothing running, no extensions, nothing. So it was a clean run. We'll see what we get here with. I got a bunch of stuff open, but I just want you all to see that's roughly the score you're going to look at. Let me talk about some of the other things on this device while that Octane's running. Keyboard feels really good, if not a little bit mushy. Travel is nice on it. It's very quiet. You can kind of hear. There's not a lot of sound that emits from there, which is very nice. I could deal with a little bit more click to the keys. They feel, like I said, a little mushy, but no problems. I didn't have really any problems. And I'm not a hard critic on keyboards, to be honest with you. So you can take that with a bit of a grain of salt. You can see we got a little shy of 13,000 there. Again, I've got a bunch of stuff running. We were running between 13 and a half in that realm there. For reference, normally your HP 14 or your Acer C720 last generation Celeron processor got somewhere between 10 and 11,000. So it's a decent bump in speed, and you can feel it most times. The only hiccups I really had with this device is when I was pegging the RAM. That really is all that there is to it. And we can talk about that. About a year ago, we were having the same conversation around devices with 2 gigs of RAM. And people would chime in and say, 2 gigs of RAM is plenty for Chroma. You don't need any more of that stuff. Well, let me tell you, as time goes by, there's more and more demand from a machine to run things on the internet. I mean, that's just the way it is. I work in and around websites all day, every day. And I can tell you the amount of functionality that's being built into websites increases every single day. And so year over year, we're going to have to start seeing kind of the benchmark of what's the least common denominator. That's going to have to continue to rise. And so we've seen that. You see most Chromebooks now are starting to ship with a 4 gig model. If not the only model they all have 4 gigs. And so 4 gigs is starting to become the norm. Well, just as that's happening, we're starting to get to the point where it's like, 8 gigs would be really nice. It'd be nice to say 4 gigs. Because, for instance, this device, the rumors are going around right now that there's an i5 version of this device coming. To be honest with you, if this device had an i5 and 8 gigs of RAM in it, this would absolutely be the Chromebook that's going to stick around for a long time for me. The RAM issue, though, is still an issue for me. But you can see, even with all the stuff going on, it's impacting that. Some animations start to stutter a little bit, but really not much. Switching between tabs, no problem. Getting back and forth, 3-finger swipe is really good. Everything still feels really swift and really good. So for your day-to-day stuff, you're not going to probably run into speed issues. So let's talk about a little bit more of the hardware. The keyboard, like I said, is good. Travel's good. The upward-facing speakers, we showed those off a little bit in the unboxing. I'll play. Let's see. Let's do this one. They're very loud. And I worked for a good chunk of time one day just with these. I normally keep a Bose SoundLink Mini next to me because I just like the fullness of the way it sounds. But I wanted to make sure I tried these things out. They're tinny. They're thin. There's no bass to them, but they're loud. As you can hear, I don't have a quiet voice and it's drowning me out pretty much. So, speakers are good, and they're louder than most speakers, and it's nice to have them up facing up. You don't have to worry about how it's sitting or if it's on your lap. It's not muffling the sound. Trackpad, I've really enjoyed. Very smooth. It does tend to pick up, you can already see it's starting to pick up some oil. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's starting to pick up some oil from my hands. That's normal. It's just one of those things with smooth trackpads. But I also operate, when I'm working, I have a T650, the Logitech, the big glass trackpad. And honestly, when I switch back and forth between that and this, it's not some jarring thing. It actually feels really good, and it's so spacious. The click's nice. It's quiet. I have no complaints whatsoever with the trackpad. The palm rests here do tend to pick up quite a bit of oil. I've had to wipe them down a lot to keep that stuff off there, and that's, again, it's just part of computers and humans in general. The screen, full HD, 1080p. It is IPS like. I'm still not convinced it's IPS. Maybe it is. I don't know, but I'm not completely convinced. The colors are much better than what we've seen on Acers and HPs and most everything else up to this point. Take the Toshiba Chromebook 13 out of that mix because that thing has an amazing screen on it. This one, if the Toshiba Chromebook is kind of the 10, if we say, hey, that's what screens should and always should look like, I give this one probably an 8.5. And I'll tell you why. Like, if I look in this region here, and it's going to be really hard to see on the video, but if I look in this region here, I have a nicer monitor I work from, kind of dual monitor setup, and on that one, it's an HD Acer device, and it's got a nice IPS display, and I can tell a difference looking at this and looking at my monitor at work, and the big differences in stuff like this. I think the contrast ratio on this isn't the greatest in the world. Again, miles better than the TN panels that are in most of these Chromebooks, but it's not quite there. The darks seem pretty dark, but it's like the contrast ratio, if you know kind of how that stuff works, the better the contrast ratio, the more blacks you get between white or gray and black. It steps more, and so it seems like all these trees here are lost. It's just a dark blob. This same background on my monitor at work, I could see all the trees and see stuff in them. And so without seeing them side by side, though, when I look at this, it looks great. You can tell viewing angles are great. I've done this 100 times in reviews. You lean them back and everything goes crazy. These look great. I can turn it to the side, no problem. And it's anti-glare, which has been nice. Being around windows, I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. I just tilt it to, whatever I kind of like and then leave it at that. I had somebody say during the unboxing, don't grab it from the corner, and I totally respect that and wasn't thinking about it. But you do see it's pretty dang bendy. I don't know if the education model is that bendy, but man, and this, you can see right here, hopefully in the video, there's a ton of give right there. So the screen part in general feels really flimsy. Now, when day to day, like closing and opening it, if you're grabbing it in the center, it doesn't bother me. It's not like it's flailing around or anything like that. But when you grab it and start torquing it just a little bit, it really does bend quite a bit. Let's see. Let's take a look around. If you didn't watch the unboxing for some reason, real quick, we'll look at the ports and stuff like that. HDMI, USB 3.0, headphone. Come around this way. We've got SD card slot, USB 2.0, Kensington lock, fans across the back here, and some indicator LEDs across the front. Bottom just has some ports for fans and tons of screws. And that's about it. The outer shell part actually feels really good. Pretty good at keeping fingerprints off, but it seems to pick up some other stuff because it's got enough texture to it that if you drag something across that can leave stuff behind, it'll leave it behind. I have an iPad I keep in my bag with it, and the case, for some reason, when it rubs across here, I guess it's getting something off the case, and so it'll leave little marks. They wipe right off, no big deal. But something to keep in mind. You may want to keep it in a sleeve or something like that. One of the other irritants for me was only 2 USB ports, and on a machine this big, it doesn't make any sense at all to me. To be honest, it just doesn't make any sense. And sometimes I have peripherals, and I've got 2 of those things, little dongles, which I hate those things, but that's just part of it if you're going to use peripheral stuff. So I've got a couple Logitech things, but I got one Microsoft mouse I like to kind of switch back and forth to sometimes. Well, it's got its own dongle, so I've got both of them hosed up with just peripherals. So that was kind of a disappointment, but you know, there are ways to extend those, and that's not a huge complaint. And for a lot of people using this, take this out real quick. For a lot of people using this, that's not even going to be a consideration or an issue whatsoever. So, all that being said, for me, this device is not going to make it as my daily driver. It's not going to quite cut it. And unfortunately for me, what this means is there's not a whole lot of other options for me at this point, because the issue isn't speed of processor or local storage, which is easily swappable in this thing. Take off the screws, pop it open, swap out the SSD. That's not the issue. The issue for me is going to be a RAM issue. And so down the road, if they come out with a version of this with either Celeron i3, i5, and 8 gigs of RAM, I might be back in the hunt for this if the price is right. You know, if it's $500 to $600, that's absolutely doable. Once you start eking up any farther than that, to me, you get into why not just drop $1,000 and go ahead and get the Chromebook Pixel. That's not for everybody. That doesn't make sense for everybody. For someone like me who's completely invested in this ecosystem, who works, I make my entire living now from this device or whichever one I have at the time. For me, it makes sense. And so that being said, yeah, I'm getting the Chromebook Pixel, the 2015 one. It's coming, and my plan is to use that as my daily driver. I know at least spec-wise, it's going to match my Chromebox, and then hardware-wise, I mean, it's a Pixel. It's going to be amazing. So that's my next little adventure in Chromebooks. And like I said, for 90% of people that are going to watch this video, this device is awesome. If you're looking for something with a little bit bigger screen, you're looking for somebody that's not really wanting it to be that portable. And really, I know it's like 4-point-something pounds, but to be honest with you, it's not that bad. It doesn't feel that unwieldy or crazy heavy. I guess because it's spaced out or something. The weight of it didn't bother me at all. Granted, I'm used to carrying around an HP 14 as well, so that could be part of it. And I get the idea that, you know, some people want a quick, small notebook, pop it open, do the thing, and they're on the go. It's in a bag, that kind of stuff. I get it. I get that the size of this could be off-putting for some people. But I want to tell you, once it gets in stores, get your hands on it. Go look at it, feel it. It's not nearly as bulky or big as it tends to look in some of the pictures, and maybe even in this video here. Very comfortable to work from, standalone, and that's the part I'll miss about it. I love the large monitor. I feel like I can sit and kind of lean into this thing and feel like I'm sitting in front of a big screen, which is kind of nice. But all those things aside, I would say I heartily recommend this device. I really do. The only other one that gives as complete of a package, I think, in the under 500 category of Chromebooks is the Toshiba Chromebook, and this thing way outperforms it. I couldn't work from the Toshiba Chromebook. There's no way that was going to happen. But for day-to-day stuff, when I came home, you know, content consumption, surfing on the couch, that kind of stuff, the Toshiba Chromebook was great, and as a holistic package, the Toshiba Chromebook is still probably pound for pound my favorite Chromebook that I've ever used. And granted, again, like I said, I'm getting ready to get the Pixel, but there's always that asterisk beside the Pixel, right? I mean, when we start talking about this is the best Chromebook experience I've ever had, well, yeah, it cost $1,000. It should be. So sometimes I feel like the Pixel is not a fair fight. And again, for my use case, that's a whole different thing. You know, I'm trying to talk to the general consumer who is going to use this at home, is going to use it on the couch, is going to use it for some blogging, you know, that kind of stuff. This is a great machine, and I can't recommend it enough. Depending again, if on your use case and how much you're going to push it, you should also be looking at the Toshiba Chromebook 3 as well. And another thing I wanted to put out here, just because people don't know it, and hopefully more people will see this. This is the last thing we're going to talk about real quick. Because even on this, if you're sitting back, 1080p on a 15.6 inch display isn't perfect. Really, I think the 17-inch monitor is where 1080p kind of finds its sweet spot of where you can kind of sit back. This feels like you got to lean into it sometimes still to be able to see something. So if you're thinking about getting this and still going, 1080p on everything's gonna be so small. Yeah, it is. Some of it's kind of small. Some of the text is. You can scale the text and all that kind of stuff, or you can simply go to display settings, change the resolution. Now, this doesn't always work. Like on Windows machines, just changing the resolution to something that's not the monitor's native resolution doesn't really work. You get dithering, you get stuff that looks blurry. It's bigger, but it's blurry. Let me show you something. When I do this on Chrome OS now, it's probably impossible again for you all to see. Let me get it. Let's do this. And that one gets a little blurry. But everything still looks really good with a higher resolution. And it's set because it's set to scale. Everything's set to scale instead of, like, text still looks good. Things don't look blurry and weird like they would on some. So for those of you with the Toshiba Chromebook, that's something to consider. Knock it down one notch. It's like a 1.2 or 1.25 scale. That might be a worthwhile thing so that everything is a little bit bigger and you don't lose a lot of resolution. Some of the icons look a bit blurry on this, but text and everything else inside of it doesn't look that bad. And so it's something to consider. Obviously, everything looks sharp and better at 1080p. Anyway, again, to sum everything up, great machine. It is large, but don't let that off put you. It's very capable. The screen's solid. The keyboard's great. The hardware's good. You can actually upgrade the SSD pretty easily. And so I got to give it a thumbs up. It's a good Chromebook. It's a great entry. I'm hoping it's one of those things that kind of spurs some other people to think, what can we do? Because with bigger chassis comes a lot more opportunity to do more things with speakers, do more things with hard drive space, do more things with more RAM. All that kind of stuff can be done with a little bit bigger computer, because you don't have to have so much engineering to fit it all into a tight space. So hopefully, as Acer did with the C720, they're continuing to spur people on and move more people into thinking bigger about Chromebooks, not just in physical size, but just in ways that we can make the experience better. And so I do recommend this. Hopefully, if you've been on the edge, this gives you enough information to go out and make a wise purchase that would be good for you. If you enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up down below. If you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe. This stuff's going to keep coming. Like I said, Chromebook Pixel will be coming down the road as well. And who knows, for the rest of 2015, we'll see all sorts of Chromebooks, Chromeboxes, bases, all that kind of stuff. And as many as I can get my hands on, I plan on getting and bringing to the channel so you guys can see them, make informed decisions, and just kind of enjoy the reviews and unboxings and all that kind of stuff. Thanks, guys, for watching. And until next time, I'll see you later.